Hey everybody, good to see you guys on a Sunday afternoon. As you can see, I'm wearing a different shirt, which means I do have more than 3 pairs of clothes. So I'm here with my good friend, a really good friend of mine, Dr. Pete Birchler. And Dr. Pete is a guy that I look up to for a lot of things. He is a guy that if I want to, just based on marriage, based on how he raises his children, he has a lot of my respect there. But also the way he researches and analyzes things, he is me to the extreme, which I respect so dearly. And he's the guy I turn to for any health questions I have. Dr. Pete, you said you went to Geneva College locally, and you went to Cleveland Chiropractic College in Kansas?
Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, the founder's name was Cleveland. And I always say that around here in the Pittsburgh area because, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, people think you're like a bad guy or probably not a good doctor if you went to Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, you're a terrible person if you did, right? And you know me in sports ball, so I know that that's a really important sports ball team that we fight against, right? Sports ball. So, that would get everybody that loves the Steelers angry for me calling it that. So Pete, I wanted to have you on for a little bit because you and I are both big believers in chiropractic health. You so much so that it became your call in life, right? Your calling. So
Yep.
just tell me a little bit about what chiropractic is for people who don't know of it. Some people still, which is crazy to me, some people are still in the mindset that chiropractic's this weird fringe medicine, which is really crazy to me. It just makes sense that if your body's not in alignment, put it back in alignment, right? So tell me a little bit about chiropractic.
All right. Can I start with the short version of why I'm in chiropractic or my?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. What's your story for chiropractic?
Yeah, I didn't know what a chiropractor was till I was 15. My grandfather was a medical doctor. He lived down the road about 1/10 of a mile from me and practiced old school, had the office, his office in the basement of his home, and was still delivering babies like in his home office into like the 1980s and stuff.
Nice.
And then he retired, I think, in 1988, and it was kind of the end of an era of the kind of country doctor era back then. And so maybe partly because of some of the, chiropractic and medical history, I had never heard the word chiropractic that I know of. And my dad took me to a chiropractor at age 15 after hurting my back very acutely and severely playing basketball. And so I wasn't real excited about going to the chiropractor. I was off. You couldn't even practice for a couple weeks and things. And then I started to get better, get back into the game. But in that process of being exposed to this thing, chiropractic, even as a teenager, there's some things that I recognized at that point and have always stayed with me, and part of why I became a chiropractor. One of which being that I had an improvement of what I would have called seasonal allergies that I had had all the time since I was a kid.
That's awesome.
And that improved during my time under chiropractic care. Fast forward in life, when I started figuring the food stuff out, I realized that the majority of that was unresolved was food related stuff, primarily probably dairy products and things. But I didn't know that as a teenager. But it improved with chiropractic. That's my point. Another thing is I remember distinctly, age 16, driving in a vehicle. We were going on a trip this time of year, and around Easter time, and I went to turn and look behind me to talk to my brother in the car, and I felt like my head turned real far, and I always remember that. I was like, whoa. And so even at age 15, age 16, I didn't have any neck pain. I didn't hurt or anything like that, but my body could not function right. And so when it started to be able to function normally again, it was noticeable, and surprisingly so, even to me as a goofy teenager. And so some of those things were factors for me in saying, hey, here's this chiropractic thing. I wasn't there because I was sick. I was there because I really wanted to perform. I wanted to play basketball in this case. And not only was I not having like negative side effects, I was experiencing side benefits. I had improvement of stuff that I didn't even go there for, much less what I was being treated for. And the whole kind of verbiage and some of the philosophy, or whatever term you want to use for that, the ideas behind it, I could tell they were a little bit different than stuff I was used to seeing or hearing. And so I think there was some intrigue in that for me of why I ended up pursuing that. And age 17, many teenagers, they get to that point where they're thinking about next steps for their life, right? What am I going to do? Am I going to go to college, get a job, these kind of things. And I was going through that process as well. And I had this feeling that I wanted to be like, I wanted to directly help another person one-to-one at the end of a given day. Like I wanted to do that.
Yeah. And
the idea of being a doctor somewhat appealed to me, but in this weird way, I didn't want to work with sick people. And that's ironic to people. It's like, you want to be a doctor, but you don't want to work with sick people.
I get that. I totally get that.
Of course you get that. Right. And so, but here was this thing, chiropractic, that helped me perform, helped me get back in the game. And I realized that same thing that could help me do that could help me continue to do that and maybe even do it better. So there was a performance aspect of it. And so it really tied in for me at that age, looking to be a high performer in the athletic world. I was having interest in nutrition, weight training, all those kind of things to be a performer. And here was this thing that like perfectly aligned with that, a doctor who could help people who were trying to perform better in their life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they were sick, though, that many of them hurting kind of like I was when I started.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that completely lines up with kind of my feeling on health coaching. Is I love to take people and help them get past stomach issues and all sorts of health issues through just pulling the food out of their diet that's hurting them, that thorn in their foot that's hurting them. But it is so much more fun to take someone who's like, man, I'm at 85% and I want to get to 90%. Like that's super fun. Or 95 and just make me help me to be the best person ever. That's super fun for me. And I know it is for you too. So today, and Lorianne, our friend Lorianne from a referral group, are both in.
Hi,
she wanted to say hi, and there's her beautiful little grandchildren there. So, and she thinks sports ball is very funny as well. So what I really wanted to talk about today, I know you've been making a big push on your social media presence and in your practice. You've not shut down with this whole quarantine thing because you are here to help people. You want to make our immune systems better. You want to take us from that 85% to that 95% immune function, right? So can you explain how chiropractic does some of this?
Yeah. So let me give you like two things. I think the sciencey answer, which many of those things are things we read. I'm not a cell biologist. I'm not a cell researcher, and same for you. So these things are information that we trust, we understand from the world of basic science research. And then does that actually match up with what you see in human beings in real life, and does it work? So the sciencey type of answer is that chiropractic, and what does chiropractic mean? The name of chiropractic is two Greek words. Kairos means hand, and practiki means to practice. So I'm a doctor, but I practice with my hands. So not needles, knives, things like that, poisons. It's poisons.
A professional handball player could also be called a chiropractor then, right?
You could say.
I mean, let's just be real, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. There might be some type of like.
I'm going to tear you down for that one.
All right. So that's really what chiropractic is. But to the level that then you put your hands on somebody and you do this thing to the body, there's this element of touch, which the person's body senses and receives. And then there's this, while there's different ways of practicing chiropractic, there is commonly a significant mechanical type of movement to the spine. And so that's really what chiropractic is. There's some element of touch. There's some element of movement. That's what's happening. All right. Now, there are types of nerve endings called mechanoreceptors in the body. So they sense mechanical stimulation. They can sense pressure, stretch, compression, vibration, those kind of things. Different nerve endings that sense mechanical stimulus into the body. And those nerve endings around the spine, when they're stimulated, so anatomically they connect in synapse on the sympathetic nervous system trunk, which runs literally attaches on the vertebrae of the spine. It runs down the length of the spine, attaching to the vertebrae. The nerves are on the vertebrae. And so when we make that adjustment, that those mechanical sensitive nerves are stimulated, and there is an inhibitory synapse at that sympathetic nervous system. So the mechanical stimulation actually inhibits the stress and anxiety, fight or flight, sympathetic part of the nervous system. And so that inhibition decreases the output of norepinephrine, or the neurotransmitters that are part of that system that we would call like stress, or the hormones associated with stress physiology. And those hormones associated with stress physiology, when they circulate the blood, so when norepinephrine circulates the blood and it attaches to immune cell like a macrophage, there is an inhibition of that macrophage. And those macrophages are involved in what's called cell-mediated immunity, which is the type associated with identifying intracellular, things like viruses, things that get into a cell. They express some protein, it comes out to the surface, and then your body recognizes that, and then your cells try to engulf or, destroy that thing. So here we have chiropractic adjustment directly anatomically influencing the physiology so it kind of disinhibits the stress physiology that's affecting the immune system.
Okay. So kind of to like layman's terms on that, you're kind of taking through the adjustment, it's affecting the nerves that are alongside the bones and structure that could be out of alignment. It's then taking that from a stress situation to an unstressed situation, which causes a cascade effect of different hormones, neurotransmitters, which dopamine, we know, everybody knows about dopamine. It kind of makes this cascade effect to where it not only reduces the stress in your body, but it actually increases the immunity through that whole process.
Yeah, that would
very
be
cool.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So what I'll tell people is it's like a switch. Like if you flip a light switch, that thing's wired a certain way, and the light, the light goes on.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have a very mechanical view of chiropractic, like an orthopedic view, a joint-based view, and there is that element to it. But it's like a switch. I mean, if you stimulate that part of the nervous system, whether or not there's a tremendous short or long-term effect on the joint or the movement, those nerves fire, and it's anatomical. It's not like a random thing, like maybe it'll happen. It's in the wiring. And so there is this, positive stimulation to the system, like you say, that turns into a neurohormonal type of end result.
Yeah. And I know, like, proof of that is just think about when you if your fingers hurt and you crack your fingers, there's an immediate change in the pain in your fingers. So clearly your body is doing something. I'm not saying we should all be cracking our fingers all the time or whatever, but there's something that is physically happening right in that moment that we can tell. So imagine somebody like you that is a complete professional, has been training with this for it's got to be a decade, right? Practicing and training over a decade.
Yeah, I got into practice 2006, so I guess we're going on 14 years, maybe 13.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So that's incredible. Your skill level is not, you are no longer a novice. So, but the beauty of it, and I know you have full faith in your skills, but you are always learning, which is really cool. I had somewhere where I was going with that, but then my brain started going off. But yeah, I love that, that what you do just makes a difference in the moment, but it also makes a difference long-term. So one of the things that I always get brought up to me about chiropractic is, I don't want to start going to chiropractic. As soon as you do, you got to go twice a week for 6 months. What do you say about that? Because sometimes that's true. But if you're going twice a week for 6 months, maybe is it maybe that your chiropractor is not doing the right thing? Can you go on, tell us about that?
Yeah. So my short answer to that is always, you don't have to do anything except maybe pay taxes and die. So you don't have to do anything. Right? So all right. So people understand certain things like exercise, right? And so let's say somebody wants to get a certain result, lose weight, more energy, build muscle, all right? And you go to a trainer and they say, well, you need to exercise 3 days a week. Oh, if I go there and start exercising 3 days a week, I'll have to exercise 3 days a week forever. You don't have to exercise at all. You don't have to do anything, my man. But if you want to get a result, how do things work and how do you produce that result?
Yeah.
So in chiropractic, I mean, it is a physical thing. So there is, inside the body, there is tissue change that will occur as a result of that stimulus, much like there's going to be tissue change like Mikey Mike has in his body from the result of his stimulus he applies to his body.
That's right.
It's not instantaneous, though there can be instantaneous effects, but there is going to be an adaptation process over time to the practice or art of chiropractic. And so much like other things of a physical nature, exercise, running, aerobic training, anaerobic training, there's a reasonable time frame for that to occur, to have more of a healing or a tissue adaptation.
Yeah.
Once, let's just say that occurs. Let's say somebody does something 3, 4, 5 months and they're able to get an excellent result, move better, feel better, tissue heal, less pain, all those kind of things. Well, if you go back to the exercise scenario, what would you, now that you look good and have lost weight, would you stop exercising? Would there be any real reason to do that?
Yeah.
And most people would probably say, well, no, I mean, why don't you just maintain the same thing that got you there, right? Mm-hmm. It might be for a different reason at that point. And like you said, Mike, it might be more like going from 85 or 90 to trying to go to 92 and 93, 95 at that point.
Yeah.
It's more about performance than it is about like, save me, I'm miserable, or trying to transform.
Yeah.
And chiropractic can be the same thing. And that's one thing I love about it, is you can take somebody who needs to change and you can help them change. And then you can take somebody who's doing great and you can help them stay great. And then you can take the Tom Brady's and the Ben Roethlisbergers and the Michael Jordans and the LeBron Jameses, and you can help them get out the extra 1%, they can get out of their body to be the highest performers in the world. So there's it can work with people on a lot of levels.
And, the way I handle chiropractic is much like, anything, like you said, with working out, when you get to the level that you want to, you could probably back off some, and maintenance takes a little less than what it used to. Unless you are that 95%, then you really do need to maintain with the same thing it got you there, because it's 95 to 100% is a really hard thing to maintain. But if you're coming from 50 to 70% and you're bumping up to 80, 85, 90, you will actually notice the difference. Whereas if you're at 50%, you get one adjustment, you might feel incredible. But as you keep improving and improving, if you're not sticking with your adjustments, like say in the beginning, if I have something really wrong with my neck, which we just had recently, right? Mm-hmm. So it took me a couple weeks of seeing you a couple times a week, and we finally got it under control. And then, and thanks to you, I realized it wasn't just something in my neck. It was also something in my gallbladder or potentially liver. I wasn't sure what it was, but I started taking steps to work on that organ, and it started helping the, what'd you call it? Radiating pain.
Like a organic pain referral.
Yeah. Yeah. So generally when I really need you, I'm seeing you more often. If I just feel healthy, I come to your office once or twice a month, usually. Sometimes I just miss you, so I come more.
Yeah. So in terms of, to give the answer to the question of maybe that optimizing element of it, I go every week to another chiropractor. In theory, I would actually maybe even like to do a little bit more than that, but on a pragmatic basis, I do every week. With travel and things like that, maybe at the end of the year, it turns out to every 10 days or so. Mm-hmm. But there are some reasons for that. And again, if you get into when you change how you feel, when you go from miserable to normal, like there's a dramatic change in how you feel. And like you just said, Mike, if you're doing great, it's pretty subtle changes up or down, day to day. But so we can't necessarily go by feel on that. That's when I think more of the science-based answers to say what is actually occurring here and how do you optimize that can come in. And I would answer that question to say, I would suggest people get adjusted weekly for optimizing their health and their performance. Mm-hmm. Weekly adjustments are shown experimentally in animal models and in real life in chiropractors who've been practicing for 40, 50 years to actually limit degenerative change in the spine and joints and pragmatically, people stay healthier. They do better. They feel better. Those kind of things. So maybe multiple reasons why to do that, but my answer for that frequency would be on an ongoing basis, like just see a chiropractor every week.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's great advice. So because I want to be very respectful of your time, because you did leave your household of 4 children plus an exchange student to come and talk with me. You wanted to be quiet. Oh, and don't forget the dog and the beautiful wife, who Kim and I have been sending videos back and forth with. I hope you're involved in those.
Sometimes I am.
So we have been. I want to be really respectful of that, but I wanted to bring up just some of our fun stories together. So the time, and we don't have to explain any of this. I just kind of love leaving it open ended so people can really guess what kind of man you are. You know,
Okay.
like the time that you broke my toe and then fixed it, all in a matter of minutes.
I broke it. Yeah.
You did it. No, I dislocated my toe at his son's birthday party. I was playing with a bunch of 10 and 15-year-olds, and I was doing the salmon ladder at a parkour park.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, it was a makeshift salmon ladder, but I went at it like it wasn't. I came down and cracked my toe. When I took my shoe off, my toe was just pointing up like this. And and me and the older kid that was there, we were like, oh, something's definitely wrong. That's not normal. And and yeah, your son chimes in right now from Rachel, from your wife. Liam says he didn't run, meaning when I was thinking like, oh, no, something's very wrong with my foot, you just walked over from 100 yards away. You just meandered over nice and slow. You got within eyesight of me, and I went, Pete, what's taking you so long?
Yeah, well, so I didn't know there was this catastrophe that just happened. So my nephew came over and he's like, Pete, Mike needs you.
Yeah.
So I walk over there. Mike's like, Pete, run.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't freak out. I think I was holding it together pretty well right until you did like number 3. You were like number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, and you looked at me like, and you don't panic. And you don't ever have, I've never seen failure in your eyes ever in my life. And I almost saw that. Your eyes just went like.
Yeah, it was a funny moment for me because here I am, there's this toe like sticking off, like angled backwards and up and off to the side. And it's like, I'd never seen this before. I'd never done any of these before. And Mike just looks at me and he's like, okay, well, fix it.
You have to.
do something, fix it. I'm like, okay, so I in there and we're looking at that thing and I'm looking at the angle and like, okay, I gotta like that thing's jammed, so I gotta like long axis distract it and like pull and rotate and get it back. And so and then you're all sweaty and stuff, and so I'm on there and like
hand chalk and like wiping things off.
Try to do it, nothing happens. Go at it again, try to get it, nothing happens, and I'm like kind of discouraged, and Mike's like, no, you're gonna do this, you get it. And I don't know if we put up the chalk or whatever at that point, and I think I got down to that baby at eye level, like right here, like even a little
your nose.
I was right there, and it was just I think I closed my eyes literally, because sometimes it's better when you just go by feel and you take it out. It's like and we heard this louder snap, and I don't know if either of us knew what happened, but we looked and it was straight. And
I didn't even look down. I just felt no pressure anymore. My toe was turning purple. So it was like turning purple. And yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just felt no pressure, and your arms went like this.
It wasn't me. If it broke, it wasn't me.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories with you. As horrible as it was, I mean, I was in pain. It still clicks, but I have almost full range now. But it still clicks a little bit. I was just showing Kim that earlier. But yeah. So, Lori Ann says, I hope that if that would happen to him, you would knock me out first, or if it happened to her, we would knock her out first. Oh. Your wife says he never panics. If he does, I know we're going to die.
Well, that would imply that I've never panicked then because we're still alive.
There we go. I almost panicked when we were on the side of a mountain, and you were really, really close to having us sleep on the side of the mountain when there was avalanches going on.
Yeah.
And thankfully, God spoke to you strong enough that just went, "Hey, your friends don't need to die today."
God spoke to me in the voice of a bearded, curly-haired man that said, "It's a no-go. It's a no-go."
And can we just say, like, that little guy, what's he weigh? 110 pounds, Sean Undercroft, 120 pounds. He's type 1 diabetic. And that guy can hike a mountain like nobody's business with like 60 pounds on his back. Amazing. So, Pete, I am so grateful, not just for the time you gave me today, but honestly, so incredibly grateful for your friendship, that you would let some dorky guy walking into your office talking about health coaching, and you're just like, "Hey, let's have lunch." I've been kicked out of so many offices in the past for different jobs I've had based on, being a sales rep. So to have you just come in and say, like, you just talk to me like a human, and then it just happened to be the right time that we became good friends. And I am so incredibly grateful for that. So incredibly grateful for all the things you,
likewise.
Yeah, you just do so much for me. And your wife is such a good friend to my wife and to me as well. Like I think it's the four of us just have such a great relationship with all of us. So I'm so grateful. I know, so people can find you at the Chiro Health Center. I have all the details in the description, but you have a new project you're working on because you did have Lyme disease. If I'm not mistaken, it was just a few months before I met you, you fell over dead one day, right?
It was in 2016.
Yeah.
And, I was chugging along in practice, been open a little less than 2.5 years in my own, practice. Had been, work prior to that, but not in my own business, owner operator. And I got Lyme disease, and the short of it is I ended up with total heart block, and my heart rate ended up going down to about 18 beats a minute, and got to the point where I was just going to pass out. And I don't know if we want to go on to a tangent here, but so here I am, the natural, health guy, and going through a health challenge, unlike anything I'd dealt with before. And long story short, I ended up going into the medical system for that, which was a thing that I felt like I didn't want to do, but at the same time, I knew it would make me more relevant to other people that are not so far on one extreme end of the spectrum, in my case, on the natural health end of the spectrum. And I thought it would also help me have appreciation for the medical community, because there are a time and a place for those things, and there's wonderful people and things out there in that. And I remember being on the hospital bed, sitting in the hospital, and just kind of having that feeling of like, here I am in this situation, what's it about? And I knew I said the only purpose for this in my life, and I didn't know the outcome, what that was going to be yet. The only purpose for this in my life is for me to help more people. It's for me to be a better doctor and help more people. And so one of the beliefs, I guess, that I operate life in, certainly at this stage in my life, is that things mean, I don't know if things have any meaning other than the meaning that we give them to. So for me, I gave that experience the meaning of it was going to teach me something, and it was going to help me help more people. And so going through that struggles, and then coming out of that and learning a ton about that in the process, I really have a heart for the community dealing with Lyme disease for a lot of reasons. It's a very polarized community, both within the medical realm and in the natural field realm, much less between the two of them. So here's people that they need help. They're struggling. They've had a problem that has affected their life. Even if they're treated medically, a very significant percentage of them, their life is not what it was. There are ongoing and new things after Lyme disease that they continue to deal with, and they want to get their life back. They want to be healthy. They just kind of want that sense of normalcy, or to find what they lost in terms of their health. And they're stuck in the middle of these Lyme wars and all of this polarizing stuff. And the reality of it is in the medical realm, there is no model to take care of those people. There's the, give the pill and do that. And that might, for a lot of people that may be helpful, may be the best thing, but there is no model to then help them with the ongoing stuff. And so what I realized is my role and my story and my unique history, even before the Lyme disease stuff, was for me to take a natural health message to that community, take the spirit of a teacher that I have to that community, and be able to help people get their life back after Lyme disease. That's really kind of the vision or the tagline, so to speak, is to help people get their life back after Lyme disease. From a natural health perspective, and to be able to have somebody that's able to help a person, I guess, navigate that environment between individuals and between the natural healthcare field and maybe between the medical healthcare field. Not that I give them medical advice, but they need somebody that's kind of their person to be able to win the game, basically win the health game.
Yeah. And so what I have open right now, a little screen share for you guys, is this is the website that he's built. That is, it's called Life After Lyme, and it's got a free opt-in for him plus a video talking about things. But I know you have a Facebook community and several other things for Life After Lyme, and I also have that in the notes on the description as well. So if you guys know anybody that's struggling with Lyme or struggling with it yourself, definitely reach out to Pete. Reach out to use his website, use what he's built to help you along. And yeah, I think that's all we need to cover today, man. I really appreciate your time. I really just appreciate you and Rachel and the kids. They are just so much fun. You guys give us hope for when we start our own family. So. And Lorianne, as always, we love hearing from you. You're just one of the nicest people we know. My wife and I know you feel the same way. So, and Rachel, thanks for tuning in too. I know you have to, because he's your husband and all. But Pete, thanks so much, man. And
thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you know it. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And Pete, give me a minute. I'm going to hit the end broadcast and we'll just say bye to each other offline.
All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for having me on.